Well, somewhat. But it focused around the characters that it needed to focus around.
Yeah.
It didn't go, Elektra, who is a big name in the Daredevil series, is right. Of course. We don't need her.
Right.
Because you just didn't. Right. I personally think she probably is dead, and they just...
Or if she's not, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I
think we've probably seen the end of Elektra in the Daredevil Netflix series.
I think she's honestly dead until they decide that she's not.
That's how most... That's most comic book characters are.
Right. That's how Boba Fett
They're
is.
dead until...
Unless you're Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Right. No, he's just dead.
He's dead.
He's the Wayne.
He stays so dead.
The Waynes, unless you're in an alternate universe where Martha is the Joker and Thomas is Batman.
Yeah.
But they're always dead. They're dead. They don't have a chance.
It's Uncle Ben, it's Jean Grey, and it's...
Grey comes back multiple times.
She does, but for the most part, her character, when she dies, is usually dead.
Right.
She's most consistently dead. And then, and finally, what's his face? I'm sorry.
Him.
Yeah.
I love him.
No, Bucky. Bucky for like 50 years was the one character they refused to bring back.
Yeah. Right. And then they were like, wait, we could give him a metal arm.
Make him a villain.
You have a metal arm?
If I'm not mistaken, Winter Soldier was a pre-established villain. Before.
I think it was.
And then they were just like, yeah, it's Bucky.
Yeah, no, it's Bucky. Because I think they said we could write a good storyline about this. But
they did.
So what else? Was there anything else?
There was three things in particular.
So that was one.
So that was number one. Number two was the prison fight scene. Was amazing inside the prison, but not realistic for me. Only because he got in there, he beat everybody up, he talked to the Albanians. The Albanians said, "Nah, that's all right, we'll get you out," and pushed him down the hallway where he led the other Albanian into several fight scenes that were going on behind. Open doors are absolutely everywhere, and he's leading the Albanian through the prison to the outside. When they get to the outside, he's like, "Open the gate," and he's like, "All right," and there's the taxi waiting for him, ready to.
Thank goodness that guy wasn't working for Fish.
Exactly.
The random taxi.
So
I agree with that. Now I still liked it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with that. That it was obviously being used just as a cool scene.
Yes.
That the director.
Although I was very impressed with the scene.
I was impressed by it, but I do agree that it was too. Mary Sue esque? Is that the terminology? Am I not?
No. I've actually done. For whatever reason recently, I've actually been trying to figure out what a Mary Sue actually is.
Okay.
And no, it's more Ex Machina.
Cool. Yeah. It's very Ex Machina-esque that there's these fight battles going on, which are really cool to see on the outside. Yeah. But it reminded me of a video game.
Yeah.
Where you're escorting. It's the escort scene in every video game. Yeah. I do agree with that.
What entertained me most was that it was a one-shot scene with no stunt double, and there was acting involved in it. Not just the fighting, but he's actually talking, and it's still the camera hasn't cut. And it keeps on moving.
That
was the biggest thing, because it moved from action to he moves into this cell with the Albanians and he's talking. The camera still doesn't cut.
Yeah.
And Charlie Cox is acting in this. He doesn't have a mask on. This is actually Charlie Cox doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that he did a bad job. I'm saying the fight scene was great.
Right.
It's just unrealistic.
And by the end, they were kind of pulling you out.
And that was
for something that's so great. Yeah. I think especially because it sets up the fact that, especially if that whole episode kind of sets up how hard it is to get out of this prison.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult. And then it was the Albanian, we're wearing a guard suit now, so now it's just everything's unlocked and you're out in 2 seconds. Right. So if that last half had been longer and it was a lot more difficult, but it was also all done in one shot, which makes it.
So they're trying
to get it done quick. But I was sitting there laughing too. Speaking of this whole thing, I was sitting there laughing because I'm going, okay, I've seen 2 one-shot fight scenes now. The first one's amazing. The second one I thought wasn't as good. I thought it was more it was just kind of okay. They were just going a little bigger. I'm like, there's nothing you can do to impress me at this point. I've seen it already. And then they do the whole fight scene, the whole dialogue scene, and then the whole other fight scene. I'm like,
the whole scene.
And he's not wearing a mask.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like,
so you can't put a stunt double in there. And he's got to do it all himself.
I thought that was really impressive.
And I couldn't find where the cuts were. I could not. I kept looking, and I'm like, there is no obvious cuts.
Yeah.
And there had to be, but I'm like, there's no
when
obvious
I was
cuts.
first watching it, I said, okay, when they're in the hospital room, the nurse's room, when he goes behind the bed thing, I said, okay, they could have a stunt double back there that they could switch out quick.
Yeah.
But they didn't because
he crawls out.
Cox is the one that crawls out.
Yeah.
Charlie Cox. And so I go, that was the spot where they could have switched them out.
And they
didn't.
I want to go back and watch how long that scene was.
Yeah.
It's at least a couple minutes.
At least, I gotta say, at least 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm like...
Because it starts with he's in the room.
The nurse's station room, right.
Breaks out from the nurse, walks out the door.
Beats up some guys.
Bunch of guys. Comes back into the room.
Beats up more guys.
Walks out. He's walking down the hall. No cut. People are reaching for him.
Cops come in.
Beats up a few more guys.
Yeah.
Is getting the crap beat out of him while he's doing this as well. Because he's still not back to 100%. And he's drugged.
Yeah, and on top of that, I'm laughing because the two cops show up and he's just like, "Help! I've been assaulted." And they're like, "There he is." I'm like, "They're coming after you."
Yeah,
dude.
they're coming
like,
to get you.
"Help! I've been assaulted."
There he is. I've been assaulted.
Can't you read their heartbeats?
I'm like, "They're gonna come after you, man." He's just like, "Oh no, I'm surprised. They're coming after me." I'm like, "What did you think was gonna happen? They're obviously coming after you."
Drugs. All right, so what's number 3?
Number 3 for me was the ending scene with them in a delicatessen. It ended every plot all at one time.
Which is what a season's supposed to do.
No, and it wasn't necessarily that it was the ending of the plot. It was the ending of every plot hole that became through the season, and then close.
But that's what writing is supposed to do.
Yeah, but not all at once.
Yeah,
Like it was like,
like
oh,
that.
we're getting together. Hey, we're gonna form up another lawyer firm. Oh, your Red Lion's going under. Boom, your dad's not getting arrested because the
FBI has bigger fish to
FBI
fry,
has
which
bigger
is
fish to
totally
fry.
something that would happen. They're not going to care.
Oh, mom and dad are
And
going down to Florida.
he still has to pay off the loan, though.
Yeah.
He says if you pay off the loan, they're not gonna worry about you.
Everything was literally wrapped up with Fisk in this whole season.
Right, because
so the moment
Fisk was
Fisk
the
was
piece
taken care
that
of,
did
everything was resolved because he was the whole point. He was the whole plot line.
It's the issue of treating the symptom or the disease. Fisk was the disease, not the symptoms.
thing-
So they beat the disease, thus curing the symptoms.
The whole thing going on with like Red Lion and whatnot wasn't
But you
a matter of
understand
the
where I'm
plot.
I'm with Tony on this one too, which is why I give it a 9. Is that especially with Red Lion, which is throughout the whole thing,
Which was throughout the whole season.
and then it's like it's a one throwaway line, and it's like it's resolved, moving on. I'm like, you had 13 episodes. I feel like there's a better way to resolve that, and a better way not to just be like, oh frick, here. It's like either cut down the season and cut out that stuff because we didn't need it. Or don't, or find some better way to resolve.
But I agree with Drucker here that everything has to do with Fisk.
I know.
Red Lion, obviously, everything. Karen being scared because she shot Wesley way back in season 1. Daredevil being scared because Kingpin knows who he is now.
Right.
And everything that's happened, the FBI being under Fisk's thumb,
right.
Everything goes back to Fisk.
Right.
So when you took him down, it would only make sense then that all the other plot points close up because you've taken out the major player. You cut the head off the snake.
And everything Nadeem did.
Yeah, can we talk about this too? I think I brought it up to you guys, but it's kind of weird that there's now a trope in these Netflix shows, and that is you have the Arab FBI agent who helps the villain to start, but eventually ends up helping the hero. I'm like, why is that very specific thing a trope? Why have I
agree.
it?
No, I liked Ray's. I liked Ray's character.
I loved Ray's character.
My biggest issue with the show,
yeah,
and it doesn't knock it down for me. Obviously, I gave it a 10 out of 10. Was the first episode or two. I did not understand his character.
But
I was like, especially in episode 1, I went, "Who the heck is this? Where'd he come from?"
And I think that's on purpose. I think they want you asking, "Who is this character?"
Oh,
I agree.
I assumed he'd end up working for Fisk. So when
I
he
thought
didn't,
originally because I knew we had seen Bullseye, but I couldn't remember what he looked like, and so my first thought
was, it was Bullseye.
Oh, this has to be
Bullseye.
The pistol. I'm like, he's doing something.
Right,
Bullseye.
this has to be Bullseye, and then I was like, but I thought Bullseye was, to be frank, white.
Yeah.
I was like,
you know what? That was one threw me. The chin. I kept noticing the chin in the mask. I'm like, it's very distinct. It's a very distinct chin.
Right.
And that wasn't the first thing that threw me. It was just the fact that I'm like, no, his chin's not right. That's not.
Let's talk about so I mentioned the only real problem that I have with it was that first thing with Nadeem. Now, and I loved his character as the season went on.
Oh yeah.
But that first episode, especially, I was like, who the heck is this, and where'd he come from? Drucker, what did you have an issue? And if you did, what? Excuse me.
If I nitpick, I could nitpick a few things. Like,
Bill Nye the Science Guy was not in it. Never even mentioned.
Never even mentioned.
I can't believe it.
I would nitpick that we didn't see how Daredevil caught Felix. Who was the
That's true.
The right-hand
Felix
man.
is never
We see him that he is caught. We see him that he is caught and then he's beat up and taken to the police. But I would have loved to see how he did that.
That was me.
That's a really small nitpick, and it will not knock it down.
Oh no! I got him.
I thought maybe
flailing randomly.
Maybe some of the episode focused around Karen could have been cut down a little bit.
I think that was episode 10.
It
was called Karen.
I wouldn't change it, but I would cut out some of that just a little bit, either for more to see that Felix
and
scene
see, and I loved it though because Karen's my favorite character.
And
more so than Foggy, more so than Murdoch or Kingpin.
Really?
Karen's my favorite character in the whole of the Netflix series because I feel like she's the most human.
I like that they had a backstory.
That's what I loved.
I loved it.
Half that episode was her backstory, why she's in New York, why she makes that phone call, and her father's like, "You can call anytime, but I really don't think that you should come up here." Yeah. And then the second half of it is in the church. Right. And by the way, I love that. I texted Drucker before that episode, and I said, "I really hope that that Daredevil and Bullseye fight in a church because one, I think it'd be really cool, and two, it'd be a slap in the face to the Daredevil movie."
Yeah.
And I was like, so I really hope that happens. And then I watched that episode, and I was like, "Oh, it happened."
It was funny too because I watched the episode and it was called Karen, and going in, I was like,
I thought it was totally gonna be a backstory episode.
Oh, I thought she was dead. I was like, she's dead.
That was my other. It was gonna be one of those two.
Yeah.
And then it was the backstory, and then I was happy she didn't die.
Yeah, me too. Because I was like,
she was my favorite.
The thing was, I'm like, I actually like her character, but then I think about Matt Murdock, and I'm like, everyone he loves dies, and I'm like, dear God, they're gonna kill Karen.
I thought they were gonna kill Maggie, his mother.
I didn't.
And I wouldn't have been shocked if Foggy died.
See, I would have been more shocked with Foggy over Karen.
Same.
I thought Foggy would die towards the end after they've renewed their friendship. Because the entire time he's ignoring him, I'm like, okay, the ending is going to have something to do with the two of them together again.
I think after season 2 and after the Defenders, he needed to win. You can't just keep. It's kind of like Arrow season 1, how it ends and everyone loses, and then by the end of season 2, it's like, no, okay, this time everyone wins. You do need that breath of. You need that breath,
and you see that at the very end. The whole, even the lighting in the very last scene is bright. It's different from the entire 12 episodes and
12 hours of content.
7/8 episodes. Yeah. It's completely different, which is completely different from all the other seasons 1 and 2. Even during the day, it's kind of gloomier. The lighting's kind of off just a little bit to show that.
Right.
So you didn't love that episode as much.
Honestly,
Zach,
my biggest
Zach.
My brain blanks for just a second.
We've only been doing podcasts together for whatever. Yeah. No, my biggest complaint is the very last shot. Honestly, the very last shot, and it's dumb.
Explain it so that they.
Now, is this the spoiler at the end?
This is the very last. Okay. This is a spoiler-esque thing.
It's literally the last thing you see. I believe.
And it's the last shot you see, and it's what's his face?
Bullseye, Dex.
Yeah, which I want to talk about his name too, because if you're gonna keep Poindexter, don't say his name as much. Say Dex.
They said it all the time.
They kept saying it, and I'm like, I get it's the comic book name.
Right.
It sounds stupid. It sounds so stupid.
Right.
Either change it or don't say it.
Or just call him Dex.
Or just call it Dex.
Which is fine.
Yeah, I think so too. But they're like, oh, it's Poindexter.
Agent Poindexter.
And I'm sitting there chuckling to myself going, A, I'm annoyed that I'm chuckling at this because I feel like a 2-year-old. But B, I'm like, this is taking me out of the scene because his name is so stupid. His name, it's like a character. It's like if there was a comic book character whose name was Butthead. It's like, change the name. Change the name. Yeah.
But so Kingpin breaks his back.
Yeah.
In the final fight scene.
Yeah.
Kingpin breaks his back. He's trying to kill Kingpin
and Vanessa.
And Vanessa. And Kingpin wins that fight. He loses to Matt, but wins that fight.
Right.
So he's on an operating table. They're fusing his back together again.
Right. Yeah, and the very last shot.
And it's supposed to be with adamantium, right?
In the comics, it is. In this, I don't think it was.
I think it's
someone.
I don't know what it is.
It's like and whatever. So anyway. He goes, you zoom in on his face, and I'm like, oh, he's going to open his eyes, like, that's me, I'm Bullseye, everyone. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then he opens his eyes, and there's bullseyes in his eyes.
Oh, superimposed over his eyes.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And it's just such a different, the rest of the season is so grounded. Yeah, and this is what I'd see in, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
Not in Daredevil. Yeah. So all of a sudden, he's just like, it's me, Bullseye. I'm like, we know it's Bullseye. We know he's Bullseye. Yeah. We've known it since season. We've known it since before the season came out. We don't need this stupid scene. You want to have him open his eyes and cut to black? Fine. Yeah. The stupid bullseyes inside of his eyes, I hated it.
Now let me ask this: what do you guys think that he was never called Bullseye in the show?
That's fine. He's not Bullseye yet.
I agree. I thought that it was a